the Land Summit. Pacific Carbon Trust, before its demise, did 4 landscape projects. They classify them, and just to talk about them very briefly, they're all improved forest management projects, which is harvesting continues, but we're going to do it a different way. Generally, that's the frame of these projects, and 2 of them are in the Great Bear group, and they're on public land. In public land, in the Great Bear project, because the Crown spent 20 years doing consultation with First Nations and all the youth to get this accord, it's their money, they wanted 50% of the credits. And they said it's on our land, and the Ministry of Forests has got a frame of thinking, you know, they get stumpage and now they're going to get part of the credits. So that's a difference. In the private land, all of the credits came to Dark Woods and Timber West, or Nature Conservancy, but they're both, you know, in Timber West, they're protecting some old growth they wouldn't have protected, and Dark Woods shifted to a very small cut from a potentially larger harvest. The mitigation activities that can take place in the forest or on forest land, we could be planting land that was forest, afforestation. We could avoid the conversion of forests to non-forest land. We could reforest areas that need it, but do it sooner, create some, or we could restore ecosystems that have been disturbed. And of course, the improved forest management has a number of ways that you can improve forest management. So those are the categories in forest land, the types of activity. Afforestation, if you were reforesting to harvest, you have, you know, you'd have a temporary benefit. You'd be increasing to a median line. Some parts missing here, but all of the, if you were continuing to harvest, if you were not harvesting, this would just continue. And in either case, in afforestation, all the credits from reforestation are yours. If you're avoiding harvest, however, and permanently avoiding conversion from forest to non-forest use, is hard. And you know, rights of way for pipelines or for hydro, avoiding that is a challenge. We could avoid Site C perhaps, but is that inevitability? So this is a, there's opportunity there. We lose about 6,000 hectares a year, and there's some opportunities there. Reforestation, however, assumes there's natural regeneration that would take place, and reforestation is adding credits. So if you're planting sooner, or planting trees that grow faster, or planting a healthier regeneration mix, you get the credits that are on top of what would have grown there. In the improved forest management group, you've got a variety of things you can do: increase rotation length, reduce the operable area, you know, widen the stream buffers, common from 50 meters to 100 meters. A lot of shifts like that, and the credit model, of course, if you increase the rotation length, you get that additional credit up front. Important thing to differentiate: reforestation and improved forest management, you can get credits up front. Conservation gives you those credits quickly, widening the riparian buffer zone, protecting more sensitive area, reducing the operable cut gives you a credit that continues across the whole period of the project. And shift the harvest to areas where you have a lower carbon impact, that kind of shifting. An example project that we just had double validated is the Cheakamus Community Forest, which is owned by, it's run by Squamish and Lillooet First Nations in the city of Whistler. And we did this with EcoTrust. A couple of the people in the room here, Deborah Bucker and Joseph Pallant, have been working on it, so ask them questions later if you wish. But we used an improved forest management project to shift to ecosystem-based management. Whistler obviously has higher value from tourism than harvesting, but the Crown doesn't see it that way. You've got a forest license, harvest it or lose it. And so we developed, these projects by maintaining more ecological integrity, selecting areas for First Nation value, and the fund, the carbon credits, are going to support this ecosystem-based management across time. It's a large area. By looking at the age class distribution, we could target old growth to protect it, balance some of the age classes. With looking at the ecosystems, we could find critical ecosystems to protect. So we did a variety of things like that, and happy to take questions on more detail. Is there opportunity of scale in British Columbia, obviously? Can that be replicated in the rest of Canada and the US? The mountain pine beetle is offering incredible baseline opportunity for regeneration and salvage of the dead trees. Of course, when you salvage some trees, you've got to recognize an emission, and that moves when your reforestation credit kicks in downstream, probably about 25, 30 years. And so it's harder to get credits out of reforesting and salvaging to reforest. So that's just a model. There are creative ways to tackle that. There are other land use change options. You can restore wetlands. Blue carbon is the term for getting in. Let's build some kelp beds. Grassland restoration. A lot of the pine beetle area is been described as an infestation of pine and could be healthier as grasslands. And that shift can be orchestrated as a climate positive thing. Reforest slides. We have a soil carbon methodology that we can use for agriculture and grassland. We are deploying that in the US, Oregon, Texas, Louisiana. We have projects, and it's possible to do that here. That methodology doesn't exist in British Columbia at the moment, whereas we have one for forest, but this is a VCS methodology. What I haven't talked about, not to make this sound simple, and it isn't, just a couple $100,000 worth of work, just to do Whistler, how will each ecosystem change in a changing climate? So we have had to model this province in all areas to determine what to plant. So now we have seed adjusted species prescribed for planting areas. So we're planting larch where it's never been for a couple of thousand years in the interior where the pine beetle is. The larches from the Kootenays. We need to get species from the US, move species north. And how does this accounting work? Land use, every project's unique. There's no easy cookie cutter. And doing land use plans, which are securing your plan for 100 years, takes time. So I know from my work, we work a lot with First Nations. They'll be the winners here. They're the ones who have an embed stake in their rights and title in the long term of that land. So they'll be players, and there's a lot of opportunity for them. BC will have more demand than just the government of BC, who's been buying 750,000 tons of offsets. It's a good market. It's a $10 million market. But we've got LNG, which might be neutralized with the stroke of a pen, but a lot of the proponents are declaring they're going to be neutral, and the Crown is likely going to ask them to be neutral. So what we have is a network of seismic lines and pipelines in the northeast. There's a large footprint there. It's probably 50,000 hectares of clearing, and we have the pipeline corridors that are going to be put in place. There's deforestation needs to be offset, and we have the pumping, and then we have the liquefaction, the concentration on the coast. So estimates are that's going to double BC's total carbon footprint of 60 million plus tons, is certainly going to increase it significantly. So it's a big potential market, and there will be opportunities for land use change, and there will be opportunities even for smaller properties, which, you know, be cautious. You need some scale to afford the transaction cost of measuring all of this and planning it. But we have no cap and trade. It's going to have to be implemented. It can be done in a stupid or a smart way. Worry about how. And trading with other markets, we have a lot of pressures to have this. If the LNG wants credits, they'll want credits that are going to be recognized by their buyers. So that's going to require us to have a rigorous system. And which leads me to all this talk about cap and trade and markets.